One of the more popular things to go out to a restaurant and get is a steak sandwich. Everybody loves them. They're beautiful, savory, big meaty bite. And I'm gonna show you how to make a venison steak sandwich at home right now. So the first step here is super easy. We just have our venison steaks. This is part of the sirloin, and all I need to do is salt and pepper each side. Something that I always want to make sure to tell people as well is that don't worry about over salting your steaks, because if you think about it, the surface on the outside of the steak is all that's seasoned, and there's all of that meat inside in the middle that isn't seasoned. So you want the seasoning to really be coated and crusted, and the salt to be on the outside of that steak so that every single bite you get is nice and seasoned. I've got a cast iron pan heating up on the oven right now, and you can do this on a grill, you can do it over the fire, however you like it. I really like it in a cast iron pan. We'll start off by crushing a couple cloves of garlic here, and I'm just gonna smash them and get the skin off. So I put a little splash of canola oil in the pan. It's hot. I'm taking the garlic and some fresh thyme, and I'm putting that in the oil real quick. So the garlic and the thyme are going to start to season the oil a little bit and give it some flavor. And now I'm gonna go in with my steaks, and they just go right on the hot pan. So now that the steaks have had about a few minutes on one side, you can see that I haven't moved the steaks yet, and I don't want to do that because I want to develop a really nice crust on the one side. So I've cooked about halfway through, and I'm now giving them the old flip. So the reason I say about a few minutes for these steaks for the one side is that it really depends on the thickness of the steak. There's no real number. You sort of have to learn by touch and by feel and by look. Once you see that cook come around halfway up the steak, it's time to flip it. Now that the steaks are starting to cook on the second side, I'm gonna add some blocks of butter to the pan, and this butter is gonna make the steaks taste obviously a little more buttery and just much more rich. So all I'm doing here is I'm taking that melted butter and I'm spooning it over top of the meat and basting it so that that rich butter flavor gets down into the meat. So these are done, and we are going to do the most important thing with a steak, and that's let it rest. The next step is to take advantage of all of that amazing juice that's still left in the pan. So we're gonna chop up an onion while the steaks rest and saute some onion and a little bit of jalapeno. That is going to get added to the sandwich as well and just make it that much tastier. So the reason it's important to let a steak rest is that it just has a few minutes to cool down and for all of those juices to remain inside the meat. If you go and cut this thing while it's hot, all of that blood and moisture and juiciness inside that lean cut of meat is just going to all run out and escape. So with a lean cut like this, let it rest, let it cool down a little bit so that you have an opportunity to make it as juicy inside as possible. All right, so my onions are cooked down with the jalapenos a little bit. There's still a little bit of a crunch there. They're not totally translucent. So I've just pushed them off to the side of the pan, and I'm going to take a piece of sliced bread and toast it on the other side of the pan for just 1 minute. So I'm just cutting this baguette into a sandwich-sized chunk. I've got my length, and I'll split it down the middle. And these are hitting the pan to get toasted. All right, so my bread's toasting. I'm going to slice the steak for the sandwich. Cutting slices as thin as you can get them, just to make sure that when you bite into that sandwich, you're not pulling out a big chunky piece of steak. You just want to be able to bite through that sandwich with ease. Bread is off the pan, done being toasted, and I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of mayo on the bottom. On top of there, I've got some really nice smoked Gouda. You can use anything again you want. You could use Swiss, you could use some mozzarella, and that's going down right there. Next, I'm just gonna grab my hot onion and jalapenos, and that's gonna go on the cheese, and it's gonna help melt it just a little bit. We have this meat cooked just perfectly. I've got these nice thin ribbons, and make sure that I have just even coverage across the whole thing. If you wanna go up just one more notch, you can take your favorite barbecue sauce, hot sauce. I've just got a steak sauce here that I really like to put on there. So you can just give her a little drizzle of a steak sauce, and then the top of the bun goes on, and this thing is ready to be enjoyed. Now I'm just gonna give it the old slice in half here so it's easier to eat. Woohoo! And there it is, a beautiful venison steak sandwich. For more information on this recipe, check out the blog post link below. And now I am gonna go eat this thing.